Good evening, guys. So tonight I want to talk about something that's been uh, bothering me for the majority of my life. Right. I want to talk about I want to talk about my biological father and the impact that his abuse has made on my life. Now, I made a video like this. I made this same exact video a few weeks ago, right? And I had to delete it because I realized I was giving out too much negative energy. I was giving out too much hate, right? I gave this man too much power, right? Just by talking about him. Just by talking about my father, I gave him too much power, right? So I had to delete that video. And for those of you that saw it, I apologize. I was cursing online. I was pissed off. I was extremely mad, and I showed the worst parts of me. Right. So I don't want you guys to see that. I don't want you guys to see the anger, the angry bitterness, the angry bitter side of me. I don't want you to see that. Right. So I deleted that video. Right. But I apologize if you happen to watch that video. I apologize if you saw that, because that was a true shit show, right? So I'm sorry, but anyone who has ever been abused in any way by their parent, right? In my case, it was emotionally and verbal abuse from my father, right? He didn't sexually abuse me. He didn't physically abuse me. It was emotionally and verbal abuse, right? So my father, where do I even start? Where do I even start with him? Fuck. But he's an all-around piece of shit. He's an all-around piece of shit, and that's me being generous. That's me being kind to this man. By calling him a piece of shit, that's me being generous, right? Because when I was younger, when I was not even 10, I recall when me and my younger brother, there's so many times when we literally caught my father in the act. He was literally pounding on my mom, beating my mom, right? Almost killed her a few times. He was like pounding on her like crazy, almost killed her in front of me and my brother. And my father, he didn't think nothing of it. He thought it was all right to beat a woman, to hit a woman in front of me and my brother, right? My father thought it was all right to sleep. Like he was snoring. Like he was snoring at his own mother's funeral. When I say that he's a piece of shit, if you could snore at your own mother's funeral, you are a piece of shit. If you can beat your wife in front of your own kids, you are a piece of shit. If you can produce kids, right? And instead of loving them, you tell your kids that they're nothing, they're nobodies. I recall, I will never forget this, when I was in a car by myself with my father, right? I must have been 15, maybe 16, right? I was a teenager. All I asked him, I said, listen, Father, Dad, can I ask you about females? I have a question about females. That's all I said to him was, Dad, I have a question about females. I was 15, maybe 16, right? First thing that comes out of his mouth is, oh, you're boring. No girl, no woman is ever gonna like you. You're too shy, you're too quiet. Just accept the single life. You're gonna be single for the rest of your life. and accept that, right? That's what came out of his mouth when I was 15, 16. All I said was, Dad, can I ask you about girls? I have a question about girls, right? About females. And all he said was, oh, you're boring. You're gonna be single for the rest of your life. No one's ever gonna love you, right? Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, what? So the, so I'm a little lost for words, but the hate, the hate that my father gave me when I was younger, that that affected me my entire life. Everyone that I ever met in the last, by the way, it took me 15 years to get over that. It took me 15 years to find my worth because my entire life I was raised thinking that I was a piece of shit. I had it installed in my head that I was never going to be good enough, right? Now, my father, he never lived with me and my family. Thank God. Whew. He never lived with us, right? But he thought it would be okay to come over. I probably saw him 3 to 5 times a year, right? Give or take. Sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. But on average, it was 3 to 5 times a year when I was growing up, when I saw him, right? And I realized he only came over to fucking bring me down. His objective, he's one of these guys, right? My father was one of these guys where in order for him to feel happy about himself, in order for him to feel like a man, right? In order for him to feel like a man, he has to put other people down. And in my case, it was me. He had to put me down in order for him to feel like a fucking man, right? Sorry, excuse the French. I'm just being raw. I'm being real. I'm being my true, authentic self. So, excuse me cursing, but I'm in my feelings tonight, and I'm letting you know how I feel exactly, right? But anyway, in order for him to feel like he's a man, he had to beat my mom, right? He had to bash my mom, almost killed her. He had to put me down emotionally and verbally, right? Telling me that I was a piece of shit, that no one would ever love me, right? So this is the type of person that my father was. Mind you, he never lived with me. He never lived with me and my family. He just came over, and I realized now that I'm an adult, now I see it for what it is. But he only came over because that was an ego trip. That was an ego trip for him. For him to feel like a man, he had to put other people down. He had to belittle other people for him to feel inferior, for him to feel like a man, for him to feel not inferior, for him to feel superior, right? For him to feel superior, he had to make others inferior. He had to make others feel like they were a piece of shit. And in my case, it was me and my mom, right? And that's something that has stuck with me my entire life. Now, I'm 36 years old. I'm 36 years old, right? And even to this day, when I meet new people who are interested in me or who try to befriend me, I'm still like kind of skeptical because I'm still like, in the back of my mind, I say to myself, if my own biological father couldn't love me for me being me, if my own father, my own blood couldn't love me for me being me, how the hell is anyone else going to love you, right? If you think about it, if your own family can't love you and they can't accept you, how do you expect anyone else on this planet to love you? Now, thank God that I'm fortunate enough that I've met people out there that actually I met people that love me for me, right? I met people that proved my father wrong. I met people that, despite my flaws, my background, right? My past life, whatever, my trauma, despite all that nonsense, I met people that loved me for me, I met people, I met strangers that became friends, that became family, that loved me more than my father ever could, right? But this is why I tolerate no shit from people, right? I tolerate shit from nobody. And this is why when, in the Jehovah's Witness world, right? Going back to that real quick. This is why when those elders, when the elders that fellowship me and when they abuse their power, right? This is why I had to sit up for myself. I had to stand up for myself, because back in the days when I was a teenager, I couldn't do that. My father thought he could just come over whenever he wanted and belittle me, right? And I had to take it. I had to take that like a man. Sorry, when I was a teenager. I had to take it like a teenager back in the day when my father would come over and just constantly remind me that I was a piece of shit, that I was boring, I was nobody, I wasn't worthy of being loved. I had to take that shit, right? Back in the day as a teenager, I had nowhere else to run. I had nowhere to go. As a teenager, I'm living at home. My father knew where I was living. He would come whenever he wanted, just to fucking belittle me, right? So I had to take that shit, right? I'm not taking that shit from nobody. Not anymore. That's done. So this is why I'm going back to the Jehovah's Witness world right now, right? This is why when an elder or anybody, when they try to abuse your power and they could pull one over me, I'm like, nah, fuck that noise. Fuck that shit. I'm not tolerating that shit. You know why? Because I had to tolerate that shit as a teenager from my own biological father. I couldn't stand up for myself back then, right? But guess what? I can stand up for myself right here, right now. I'll be damned if anybody, my biological father, a fucking elder, a governing body leader, a CEO, anybody, I'll be damned if anybody else try to take advantage of the power and try to belittle me in any fucking way. I'm not tolerating that shit at all. Not at all. And if you're watching this, Jerome, my biological father, if you're watching this, I want you to know that you made me the person that I am today. So thank you. All that hate that you gave me, all that belittling that you gave me, it made me the person that I am today. Because I tolerate no shit from nobody. Even you. Even if you try to cross me, you try to approach me in any way, you're dead to me. You are dead to me. The only thing you done was make me a fucking juggernaut. I know my worth. It took me 15 years. It took me 15 long years to find my worth. I was suicidal. I was suppressed. I was lost. The majority of my life, I was lost. I didn't know my worth. I didn't think I was worth jack shit. Until recently, until a few years ago, I had to find my worth. And guess what? I kept saying to myself, right? If my own biological father could hate me, for no reason, by the way, no, there's no legit reason. The only reason my biological father didn't like me was for superficial reasons, right? Because I wasn't cool enough, because I was quiet, I was boring, because I wasn't like everybody else, right? The fuck? A parent's supposed to love their kids regardless, right? A parent's supposed to love their kids no matter what. I shouldn't have to be cool. I shouldn't have to be popular in order to be loved. I should just be myself, right? But not to my fucking biological father. So if you're watching this, guess what? There are people out there that have met me, that have known me, right? Strangers that have known me, and they came to love me. Surprise! You didn't see that coming, did you, right? I know people from all over the fucking world. I know people from every different continent that have come to know me and fucking love me. Right? You couldn't love me. My own blood, my own flesh and blood, the person that brought me in this world couldn't love me. But I met other people out there that have, right? So, once again, if you're watching this, Jerome, just know that that hate that you gave me, you made me the person I am today. So, thank you. Once again, thank you for that hate. And once again, I tolerate no shit from nobody. I tolerate no shit from nobody. No elders, no CO, no governing body leader, nothing, no one. No one. You know why? Because I keep saying to myself, if my own biological father could hate me, right? And I was, like I said, I was suicidal, depressed. I've overcame all that shit. 15 long fucking years. It took me 15 long years to get over that shit. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. I finally found my worth. I know I'm a good-hearted person. I'm damaged. Just like a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there that's damaged. There's a lot of people out there that have suffered from emotionally and verbal abuse from their parents, right? But at the end of the day, it makes us stronger. It makes us stronger. So, once again, I want to say thank you. That hate that you gave me, thank you. You thought you could break me? Far from it. Far from it. All it did was make me unstoppable and make me the person I am today. So, thank you. Thank you.